Well, I got busy and waited till Sunday afternoon to start on this. Not what I promised. Okay. So, what we're going to do, and you have your choice about this. You could pre-wet this area, or you can just paint it. Let's see. Let me back up here. So here's the thing. We're going to put in a pale wash of Naples yellow. This is Cheap Joe's Naples yellow. That is American Journey. And I like that because it's more yellow. Some of the watercolor Naples yellows are just insipid. So I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, is there anywhere other than what I've got masked off that I would disagree with having yellow on? Remember, this is gray. It looks blue-gray next to her. But gray has yellow in it. There's yellow over here. We're not going to put that red in up here. And we're not going to do a lot of detail back there. We're just going to suggest something. We call it almost trees. Okay, so let's see. This is on. Okay. So basically, I want to put some of this Naples yellow almost everywhere. Okay. So a couple of ways to do that. I'm going to do it the wet on dry way, but you could pre-wet this if you wanted to make it easier. Here is Naples yellow. Like I said, this is American Journey Naples yellow. And that's way, way too strong. But Naples yellow is a really soft, gentle, ducky kind of yellow. Let's see what that looks like. Let's just try it out here. Oh, yeah, that's perfect right there. So I'm just going to apply that everywhere. And you notice that I put her at the top of I should have mentioned this in the last video, at the top of a sheet that is, this is 11 by 15, and the quarter sheet. And I did that because I want this extra space down here, and I want these eyes closer to a sweet spot. So I want the head higher up. But I didn't want to crop it too far down because I wanted these highlights on the hair in the painting. Okay, so basically we're just going to do this. Okay, so I've got it thinned out enough. Make sure you don't get this too strong, but there needs to be enough down there that it mattered that you did it. So no two of us will have the exact same amount down here. That's okay. But you know, if you're in the habit of being too cautious with this, then you know what to do. And if instead you are maybe sometimes get your yellows on too heavy, then you know that you want to be cautious. But this is a very forgiving yellow. And it's one that, and some of y'all that haven't been doing portraits with me don't know about this. Oh my gosh. So you don't have this color. Okay, if you don't have this, use a little bit of a new gamboge, but keep it very, very weak. So that it looks about like this. And you don't have to get it on evenly everywhere, but you want that to be kind of smooth, especially over the face area. Up in here, it wouldn't matter whether it was smooth. Okay, so that's step number one. Now I get to go off and let it dry because I want it to soak in. I don't want to dry it with a hairdryer. Okay, now let's add some Quin Coral. So again, we're just putting on this really pale mix. know, it's funny. Queen Coral looks so much brighter on the page than it does wet here on the palette. Much brighter. Oh, look, the water's just the color I'm looking for. Okay. So what do I want to have happen here? I hate to tone the whole thing again with the same color. But I would like to get the face, and actually this can actually become a nice gray. I think we'll make this gray out of 3 colors, at least to start out with. And then the hair color, actually, that works with this, except the hair color is kind of honey colored in a lot of places. So we don't want as much red in it. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Well, let's test this out down here. Oh, okay, I think I'm going to want to thin it out a little more. Again, you could pre-wet the whole thing if you wanted to. See, that's about how I want it to be. So I'm going to add a little more water to this. And I'm going to go over the hands and the face. In this area, again, if you wanted to pre-wet this, you might be happier doing that. Got to keep this face wet. So I'm going to add water right here while I come back and put pink into this hand. Okay. See, now adding water when I did meant that I won't get a back run later. Here's where the ear comes. And then let's just pull this up to the hairline. Oops, wrong water. And then let's soften that edge right here. Okay. You know, I think I'll pull a little bit of that color into here and soften it. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to wind up putting it in up here. Be careful, you don't want back runs in the face. While I find them delightful in a lot of places, not in the face. Again, I'm just going to soften this where the hair comes out into the background. And let's make sure that that's done right. Okay. That was step 2. Oh, here's a little spot right here. I could get a back run there. I'm not careful. What do I do? Well, let's squeeze this brush out and pull the extra moisture off. There. Okay. Let that dry. Now, if you are having trouble with the color moving around. See, I've got a streak through here. That doesn't bother me at all. This is going to be so pale compared to what we're putting in. Except, you know, her skin is very delicate, luminous, pale. We want to keep that feel. All right, so if it looks like it's going to get away from you, like there's a back run happening or something. Oh, look, I've got a back run in here. I'm going to leave that. I'm absolutely going to leave that alone. But if it looks like you're having a back run or something, you can take this to the hairdryer really fast, and that will at least stop it from doing anything more. Sometimes the hairdryer really actually smooths things out. Sometimes it smooths things out that I don't want to be smooth. So, but I'm going to leave that. In fact, I'll just make a little bit more of a back run right here to connect with the edge. There. In fact, wouldn't it be nice if I had a little texture in here? Not like that plain flat thing. There I got a little texture happening. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to go off and leave it. Spot up in here, which really doesn't matter, but I'm messing around now. Okay, so I'm going to go off and leave it, and then we're going to put some cerulean on this gray area next. Okay, while I was off camera, I went to the back of my painting and I wet it down liberally and let it soak in some, and then I dried it with the hairdryer. I tried to get it hot with the hairdryer, so I'd hold the hairdryer still, or move it slowly so that some heat could build up, because that shrinks the back side of the paper. Because the front side would keep getting it wet over and over, and even if we're not using a hairdryer, there's shrinkage that's happening. And so we want the back side to shrink too, so that it'll lay flat. Okay, that's something that I don't normally do with people in class because it's just too time consuming. All right, so now, look, we have got this really pretty peachy color, and it probably won't show up in the end, but all these little shifts, see, some places are more yellow and some places are more pink, and it just does this gorgeous thing. And then the color of our PBO masking fluid here, and not everyone has the same color because they've changed it now and made it kind of an icky green, but that kind of blue-gray there next to that color, this and that's really pretty. And what we're going to do here is we're going to make kind of blue-grays in here. So we're going to get sort of that color combination that's going to be really nice. So right here, I have got this peachy color, and this is going to be too light on our first go at it, but it's good practice. So what we're going to do is we're going to layer some cerulean along here, and we're going to try and put it on in the right concentration to make this look gray. So if it's too heavy, it'll look too blue, and if it's not heavy enough, it won't go gray. It'll stay kind of pinky. So let's see. And cerulean here works really well. It's really soft because it's got a lot of opacity. And so that softness is going to kind of go with what we're already doing. Oh, there I've got a crumble. All right, so I'm going to put a lot of water in it. Again, this is one that you could pre-wet the area, particularly if you're new to doing this. I would recommend pre-wetting the area. Let's test it out down here. Oh, well, that looks a little... Oh, okay. That looks a little bluish, but it's wet. I think when it dries, it'll be about right. Maybe that it needs a little more yellow in here. This is the way we're going to handle skin too, although we're going to do it a slightly different combination of paints. But, whoop, got some on the finger there. Okay. And I'm not going to put blues on her skin yet. That happens later. So I do want to be really careful right here around her fingers. Like I said, if you pre-wet this, it'll probably be a little easier. Whoop. And so I want to keep this wet. If you're working on dry paper, then you want to keep your leading edge wet so that you don't get dry bad places or yicky things going on. So we have to avoid yick. Okay. There we go. Well, it looks a little on the lavender side, doesn't it? We have to see it dry. And so the picture, the painting ends right here. I tried to add a little bit to her finger there to get a little bit of a second finger showing. Unfortunately, I cut off this part of the hand on my on the printout I sent to you. I didn't notice that till yesterday. Okay, there we go. You know, that might be pretty if we spattered that. I wonder. I just like that variation. It's not about texture as much as it is about variation in color. This may not back run. I'm trying to get it to a little bit, but your granulating colors don't back run very easily. Yeah, it's probably not going to do anything. I'll leave it like that and come back in a few minutes. So now we've got a little bit of a neutral, deeper color in here. So that's kind of a nice start on this. Okay, the color here is far from gray. It's like lavenderish purple, you know, in other words, on the purple side. And what makes purple? Red and blue. So what's the other primary color that we need to make it go gray? We need yellow. Okay, so we're going to put a very, very weak glaze of yellow on top of this. But I want to point a couple of things out to you. It is true that the back of our hands, although not in the case of my hands, they're red all the time, but that the skin on the back of your hands tends to be bluer, whereas the fingertips and the inside of the palm is redder. Okay, but see, this has got that blue cast on it. Now, when you look at this, this is a molded plastic something here. When you look at this, you notice how this top part looks bluer, and this area here actually has almost a yellow cast to it. That's because when we're outside, the sky being blue, we're getting reflected light or blue light coming from the sky. And you're seeing that. You can see that. Well, here it's not noticeable, but a lot of the time you will actually see blue, like on the top of the nose and the top of the hair. It's very weak, but it's there. And you can take advantage of it, which is really nice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this pale glaze on here. You see how that's laying pretty flat? And I didn't do anything to make it flat other than getting the back wet one time and really heating it up to dry it. Sometimes you might need to do that to some areas twice, but maybe not here. Okay. Particularly on large paintings, sometimes I have to do it twice. And then I still press them. And in fact, I'll probably press this week before I go back to it. So I've got that area right there thinned out a whole lot. Right here. Let's see what this does. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we can use a little more yellow than that. Okay. That might be a little too... There. Right there. Okay, well, I'll just add a little more water to this part. See, just a real thin glaze of yellow, and it starts going gray. I'm not as nervous about the edges around the fingers with the yellow. Okay, oh yeah, see, that's gonna, when that yellow dries, remember the yellow, all the colors probably, but especially, I've noticed this with yellows, they stand out and look really strong when they're wet, and then sometimes they're a lot weaker after they dry. See, that looks a little bit yellowish, just a little bit. And I bet it's going to be just what I want when it's dry. So one of the things that we might do in this painting is that we might actually take advantage of that blue sky. See this blue right along here? We might take advantage of that in the next layers to make that darker. And we might make this bluer, and this almost has a yellow cast to it down here. And so you can see the edge of where the plastic or whatever it is starts to kind of roll towards the top. There's almost a line here, and value wise there's virtually no difference. What you're seeing is a color change. Okay, so this is where we're going to stop. I think that's going to be just perfect. So when this is dry, I'm going to wet the back again, and I'm going to press it, because I feel like it almost makes a difference in the painting later. It probably doesn't, but it feels that way to me, so I do it. Okay, that's it. See you next time. So this is the end of this week's lesson. It's in 2 parts, but part 3 starts next week.